Hello kids once again. So in this video I am going to explain the concepts and the processes in order to find the least common multiple of two numbers and the greatest common divisor or the greatest common factor, which is the same. Remember that divisor or factor means the same in the context that we are working. So let's start with the least common multiple, and let's remember that the concept of multiple is you can understand it as the numbers in the table of a certain number. So the multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and etc. because those are the numbers in the table of 2. Also, the multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. because those are the numbers in the table of 5. So the least common multiple of two numbers is going to be the smallest. Remember the concept of least. The least means smallest. The smallest number that the lists of the multiples of two numbers have in common. For example, let's say that we want to find the least common multiple of 20 and 16. So let's find the multiples of 20. The multiples of 20 are 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and we can continue endlessly because it can continue forever. Now let's do it also with the 16, multiples of 16. Sixteen, 32, 16 times 3 is, I just forgot the tables of multiplying. Let me do it here. 16 times 3, 48. 16 times 4 is 64. And let's do it with, no, let's do it. This is going to be 80 and 96, and we are going to leave it like here. Because what numbers do you find in common? Here you can see that the 80 repeats in both. So it means that the least common multiple of 16 and 20 is 80, because it's the smallest number that these two lists of multiples have in common. If you continue with both lists, you will probably find more numbers in common, but the first one that appears is the 80. So that is how you find it. But imagine that you want to do it with numbers that are way bigger than these two. If you do the lists of the two numbers, you may have bad luck and it's going to be really long and you will probably not find numbers really soon. But you can always do it by using the prime factorization. So let's do it with this same example. Let's do the prime factorization of 20 and the prime factorization of 16. Let's do it like this. So it means that 20 is 2 times 2 times 5. And it means that 16 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So the next step that we are going to do is that we are going to use, let me do it like this. We are going to use these. We are going to put them one over the other, but you can do it by writing the same thing again. And then we are going to make pairs, couples of numbers that repeat in the 2. So if this number has a couple in the other, we can pair them. These two are together. This has a couple? Yes. These two are together. This has a couple? No, because be careful. The 2 repeats here, but this doesn't have a couple in the other column, so not. This neither, and this also doesn't have any couple. So what we are going to do after that is that these 2 and these 2 are going to become 1. 2 and 2. And we are going to multiply it. But for the least common multiple, we are going to also include all of the numbers that were alone, even if they repeat. Okay? So we include these 2, these other 2, and this 5. So if we multiply 2 times 2, it's going to be 4, times 2 is going to be 8, times 2 is going to be 16, and times 5 is going to be 80. And look, the 80 is the same thing that we found here. Okay? So that is how we do it with prime factorization without having to find all of the lists of the numbers. It works especially good when you have really big numbers. Now, let's talk about the concept of greatest common divisor or greatest common factor. Remember, it is the same exact thing, just with different names, but it is the same. Okay, so greatest is the biggest. Divisor that the 2 numbers have in common. So remember, the divisors are the numbers that you can use to divide the number that you want, or the divisors are also the numbers that if you multiply them by something else, you get the number. Let's remember, and let's do it with the same example than before, with 20 and 16. Greatest common divisor, sorry about this, of 20 and 16 is going to be. So let's write the list of the divisors or the factors. And the divisors of 16. So we did it in a previous video, so I am going to just write the factors, the divisors. Remember, it's the same. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And for 16 is 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Okay, so remember, it's the biggest or the greatest that they have in common. So what do they have in common? They have in common the 1, they have in common the 2, the 4, and they don't have in common anything else. Which one is the bigger? The bigger is the 4. So the greatest common divisor of 20 and 16 is 4. But remember, we can also do it in a similar way than this with prime factorization. So let's do it. 20, it's going to be 2, 20 equals 2 times 2 times 5 and 16. And I am going to write it here already. So for finding the greatest common divisor, the process is really similar. You are going to start making pairs or couples of the numbers in the two factorizations. This one goes with this one, and this one goes with this one, but the others do not have any couple. They are forever alone. So what we are going to do is that these two become only 1, 2, and these two the same. And we multiply them, but this time we don't include the numbers that didn't have a couple. So in this case, we only multiply this, and the result is 4. And look, it's the same thing that we found before. So here I leave you with everything that we did today, and that is how you find least common multiple and greatest common divisor of two numbers.